Hello everyone. Allow me to ask a very rhetorical question. What does a world-class detective, a washed-up fashion icon, a Twitch streamer, a scientist, and a politician have in common? And the answer is Miles Braun, a tech billionaire who happens to be friends with all of them, except for Benoit Blanc, the detective. And he invites all of them to a murder mystery party. He delivers them a box full of intricate puzzles that they solve to get their invitation. A day or two later, they all meet up at the docks to go on this giant yacht to reach Miles's private island in Greece. And they're all surprised to see the world-renowned detective Benoit Blanc, but they're even more surprised to see Andy Brand. And Lionel, the scientist, tells Benoit that Andy used to be partners with Miles Braun, and they thought of the idea to create the company together, the company called Alpha, until Miles sued her for the rights and he took everything. And once they get to the island and Miles notices that she arrived, he's even more surprised than anyone. I mean, you can guess the awkwardness at this point because he sued her, he took everything, and she hates his guts, you know. Anyways, Miles has a little talk with Benoit, and apparently he never invited him. Miles never invited Benoit. I mean, he knows who he is because he's so famous, but he never sent him a box and he never wanted him to be here. And when he tells him that, Benoit gets really confused, and figuring out that somebody sent Benoit the box, Miles just lets him stay. And their first day there, they chill by the pool, they have a couple awkward conversations, and Miles tells Benoit that him and his friends are the disruptors of society's system. And as Miles was ranting about something completely pointless, Andy comes over and starts accusing everyone of being traitors, and how they're all not really friends with Miles, and they just depend on him for money. And if it came down to it, they just sell their soul to get more money. And Andy just walks away after she told everyone that they're backstabbers. And Claire goes after her and notices that Andy's a bit different. And a bit later, we notice Duke spying on Miles. And apparently, Duke's girlfriend, Whiskey, yes, that is her name, Whiskey, is apparently having an affair with Miles. And Benoit notices Duke noticing Miles and Whiskey getting it on. And a couple hours later, at night, Miles gets everyone in his living room, offers them a drink, and everybody dresses up and starts having a little bit of fun. And there were a lot of paintings in his living room because, you know, he's a billionaire, and everyone thought that the Mona Lisa that he had was obviously a fake, but he tells them that it's the real one. He paid off the French government and got it on a short-term loan. And as everyone was trying to adjust to the shock that their friend Miles now owns the Mona Lisa, temporarily, Miles reveals something even more shocking. In about a week, he's invited a lot of world leaders to his island to showcase his new company, Clear. And what is his new company about exactly? It's about a hydrogen fuel that can power pretty much anything. And when his scientist and Claire, the politician, starts arguing with him that he can't release this to the public because it's so unstable and it could explode and kill pretty much everyone, he tells them that he's now currently powering the entire island with it. They all sit down, and as they were about to have dinner, Miles announces the start of the murder mystery. They're gonna have to solve his murder and also find the motive. And the person who does that becomes the winner. And as he was announcing everything, Benoit gets up and he solves the mystery in about a minute and a half. Apparently, Birdie was the killer, and the motive was because Miles took a family heirloom from her a long time ago. So this whole thing, the whole game, was for absolutely nothing, because Benoit solved it just like that. And Miles gets very annoyed and angry that Benoit just solved it, and he expresses that anger to Benoit. But Benoit warns him, telling him that all of these people, they're not really his friends, and they all have motive to kill him. And Benoit urges Miles to be very careful. And a bit later, as everybody was bored and just getting drunk for no reason, and talking about how they need to leave the island tomorrow because now they don't really have a reason to stay. The murder mystery, which was supposed to last the whole weekend, was solved in a minute by Benoit. And Benoit and Miles get there, and Miles tries to convince everyone to stay. And after Duke showed him something on his phone, and Miles agreed to put him on his news network, Duke starts choking on his drink, and he just dies instantly. They try to call for the police and an ambulance, but they tell them they can't get to the island till morning. And as everybody was shocked and thinking about what just happened, Miles notices that Duke was actually drinking from Miles's glass. And the murderer, whoever that is, wanted to kill Miles and not Duke. And as soon as they see the glass, and Miles was trying to hide behind Benoit like a little girl because now he thinks one of his friends tried to kill him, the lights go out and Whiskey comes rushing in with a spear gun and tells everyone that it's Andy who killed Duke and that she was ransacking Duke's and Whiskey's room after. And because the lights went out and everybody was paranoid, they all run around. Benoit finds Andy outside, and as they were talking, somebody guns her down. Everybody walks outside to notice that Andy's dead, and they all get back inside the house, and now everybody's convinced that there's a loose killer amongst them. And as Benoit was explaining that he doesn't really know what's going on, we are taken back in time to see what really happened. So, get this. The person who gave the box to Benoit is Helen. Who is Helen, you might ask? Helen is Andy's twin sister. And why would Miles send Helen the box? Well, he didn't. He sent it to Andy. But Andy didn't receive it because she was dead. Apparently it was a suicide, and the autopsy proved that she had sleeping pills in her system. And Helen thinks that somebody from the group killed her sister because as Helen was going through her sister's emails, she found that her sister Andy emailed everyone in the group about an envelope that contained information that would bring Miles down. And Benoit agrees to go on the trip with her to solve the murder mystery, but he requests her to dress like her sister and be there because that's gonna catch whoever killed Andy off guard because they think they killed her. And Helen also tells Benoit about the beef that her sister and Miles had. So it all started when Andy introduced Miles to everyone else. And in time, things started going pretty good, and while they were at a bar, Andy sketches this plan for a company on a piece of tissue paper in the bar. And the company takes off, they call it Alpha, and as things were going really well, Miles proposes the hydrogen power idea, and Andy rejects it. She tells him that she'll leave with her half of the company, and she's not gonna let him release something that's so volatile to the public. And it's because of that Miles sued her and lied about being the one that came up with the idea for the company, and that he was the one that did the sketch on that piece of napkin years ago. And when they went to court, every one of her friends lied about everything and told the court that it was Miles that came up with the idea. And that's why Andy hated her friends. And after the trial was done in her house, Andy finds the original napkin that she wrote the idea on. And that was what was inside the envelope that she emailed to everybody else saying that this is what's gonna bring down Miles. And now, fast forward to when everybody got to the island, Benoit and Helen, who was pretending to be her dead sister Andy, were a team and were investigating everyone to find the killer that killed Andy. And from their investigation, they deduced that everybody had a motive to kill Andy and protect Miles, because all of them need Miles for his money and protection. And in that moment when they were outside and Benoit was talking to Helen before she was shot, we see that she never really died. The bullet did hit her, but her sister's journal stopped the bullet. And Benoit came up with the idea to pretend as if Andy was dead because he'd keep everybody in one room and she'd go out and she'd search Miles's big ass bedroom for the envelope because they believe that whoever it is that killed Andy probably delivered the envelope that contained the original napkin to Miles. And now, back to present time, Benoit has apparently solved who the murderer is. And it's Miles. Miles is the one that killed Andy by going to her house and poisoning her, and he is also the one that killed Duke because the day he poisoned Andy, Duke saw him return from her house, and Miles is also the one that shot Helen with Duke's gun because he picked up the gun before anybody saw it. And he also had Duke's phone in his pocket. And now you may ask, why would he have his phone? It's because the press released that Andy committed suicide, and Duke was actually blackmailing Miles into having him on his news network because Duke knows that it's Miles who poisoned her to death. And because Miles was the one that killed Andy, he knew that it was Andy's sister that was here to investigate her sister's death. And after this big reveal, Helen comes down the stairs with the actual envelope that the idiot Miles kept in his bedroom. He uses a lighter and he burns the napkin to a crisp. And then he gives a speech about how he won and how they can't prove anything now and there is no physical evidence. Helen gets pretty pissed and she asks Benoit to do something because he's a detective, but he tells her that he can't really do anything and there is no evidence. So he hands her a drink and he hands her something else and he just leaves. And after he left, Helen loses it and she starts breaking everything in the living room. And everybody else joins in and they start breaking stuff. And after they broke a lot of stuff, Helen starts a fire and she shows Miles what she has in her hand. Apparently, Benoit handed her that little tiny hydrogen fuel that Miles was showing them, and she puts the very volatile hydrogen fuel in the fire that she started. And then, boom! Everything goes up in flames, even the Mona Lisa! Oh my god, I can't believe she burnt the Mona Lisa. Who does that? And after burning everything to a crisp, Miles tells Helen that she still has no proof. She may have burnt billions of dollars worth of assets, but she still can't prove that he's the one that killed her sister, nor can she destroy his empire. But Helen did what she did and especially burnt the Mona Lisa because she wanted to use his own hydrogen fuel that he wants to launch to the public to make the association that the Mona Lisa burnt by this unstable substance that Miles wants everyone else to use. And this will definitely destroy his empire. And not only that, his friends now hate him so much that they all raise their hands to confess that he is the one that committed all the murders and that they saw him do it. Yup, it's a pretty great movie and that's how it ends. I really recommend you guys watch it and I loved recapping it for you guys. Leave a comment, subscribe to our channel, and I will reply to every comment, so please leave me a comment. Like the video. I will see you guys on the next recap. Bye!